What's up, everybody? Welcome to Podcast Now. I'm Alex, and in this video, I want to talk about Scream 5. It's turning 2 years old, I believe, this Sunday. Very exciting. So what I did is, about a week ago, I actually rewatched this movie, and I got a lot to say. I think what I'm going to do, we're going to do this stream. I'm going to also do like a video review. I think I actually did one for the 1 year anniversary of this movie. I keep wanting to say game, obviously, because I'm just in a game mode. But I think on Sunday, there'll be a video breaking down, my thoughts. We'll probably put in like a 15, 20, 25-minute thing. But I'm excited. I mean, honestly, I really like this thing. And it almost surprises me each time I watch it. Like the amount of joy I get in watching it. And I try to find, and I've said this before, like a lot of these Scream movies I haven't watched too many times, really. I mean, it's getting there definitely as these years go on. But for Scream 5, this is maybe the fourth, fifth, sixth, somewhere in that range of time. I think I saw it twice in theaters, and then I saw it maybe two. Yeah, so maybe it's the fifth time I think I've seen it. So I try to focus in on like something a little bit different each time, and something stand out more positively, and then something stand out slightly more negative. So we'll talk about it. If there's any comments, any questions, any just your guys' opinion, on the movie, we're gonna read them all out. But I want to do, sticking with what I've been trying to do for these Friday live streams, I want to stick to a theme, right? So we're just going to talk about Scream 5. I don't want to, go into Scream 7 or anything like that. And I hope we can do this again for Scream 6 on its 1 year birthday, or at least close to the 1 year birthday. We will do it as well. Okay. So let's talk about Scream 5. I mean, I don't know if I can get it like in my head going straight, like chronological order, right from the beginning of the movie to the end. But I do want to focus on a couple things that like stood out a little bit. Number one is actually, going in order, the opening. I think Tara's opening is really, really awesome. And you kind of have to because we know how big Jenna Ortega is now. And I've always, I said before, like I've always liked her in Scream 5, and I think she's a great character in Scream 6, but Sam really takes over in Scream 6. So like going back to Scream 5, it's like Tara doesn't have that many moments because she's just not in it all that much. But when she's there, she's extremely, extremely good. And that opening is, I know we hold it against it, and I think we should, because it really is just replicating one, but it's really good. Like just the back and forth between her and Roger, they do an excellent job, right? From like start to finish. They do the cat and mouse kind of thing. The game itself is very fun and very cool. And then her attack is awesome. And to kind of put yourself back there where it's like you're seeing Ghostface, because I've watched Scream 6, I watched it a few months back, and, a lot of them are the aged masks and stuff. So to see, just the clean, the normal, the average mask, to see that back and to see, Tara kind of like fighting for her life, it's really, the music stands out. Like it works really well. I'm thinking like after she gets stabbed in the hand and kicks Ghostface down. Like I just remember all of that sitting in the theaters and being like, oh, we are so freaking back, like we're here. So I think that's a really great moment in the beginning. Just the attack itself, the dialogue, everything. It is very much replicating one, but I think it does really, really well. What I want to do, we'll read some of these comments, the super chat, and then I want to try to nail some of the themes. There's a couple like themes I can think of in my head that I wanted to focus. I should have wrote this stuff down. I think for the 1 year anniversary, when I watched it, I literally had a notebook and I took notes. I didn't do that this time. I thought I could just remember it. So hopefully I can. But welcome in, everybody. Hope you're all doing great. I forgot actually to say that. Hopefully everybody's doing good. Staying warm in January. I enjoyed this movie, even though I didn't see it in theaters. Yeah, I mean, seeing it in theaters, I think that's what I'll talk about next, just like Scream returning, because that's such a big part of Scream 5, right? It was the lead up to it, us building this community together, and then leading into the movie and then seeing the movie in theaters. That's such a big part to the Scream experience, and that stands out. So we'll talk about that in a second. I think 6 was better, but Richie and Amber were far more entertaining and had an original motive in comparison. Yes, that's a great observation. I agree. I have some things to say about Richie and Amber as well. Great film. Woke up just in time. Nice. I've seen it so many times this year. Yeah, there's a Scream 5's having a comeback. Like I see it on social media where Scream 5 is suddenly the better of the two movies. I actually don't agree. I still like 6 more. I'm sorry. I like 6 more. But I do think 5 is really good. And that's what I was talking about earlier. Like every time I've watched this since it came out, I've thought to myself, this is the weakest one. Like, I'm trying to like word it with time is like a negative to it in my head. Where as time goes on, and you quiz me and say, Alex, rank the Scream movies. I normally put 5 at the lowest, right? But then when I watch it, I think it doesn't deserve that. It really, I think it nails home the point that there is no bad Scream movie. Now that's my opinion. I know many people actually think 5 and 6 are, or maybe just 6 or whatever. I don't think any of them are bad. I used to put 3 as the worst one because I think 3 actually does have some like bad bad elements to it. Way more, or even none of the other movies even have bad elements to them. But that's why I've always put 3 there. But 5, I don't know. Like once 5 had come out, I thought, 5 kind of deserves to be the worst one. But like worst, right? Like they're none of them are bad. So then I thought, all right, well, I don't know what to do. I don't know if 3 or 5 because I really like watching 5. I got to be honest with you. Breakoffs, thanks so much, buddy, for the super chat. Always here for the Scream content. Thank you, good sir. Scream 5 is good, but so depressing. Yes. Yeah, we'll talk about that. Soundtrack really good, but a hard rewatch because of Dewey. Great cast, though. Wouldn't change a lot about it. Great points. Great points. Dewey stands out. And he always, like, that's the sad thing. He will always stand out about this movie. I mentally took a note when Dewey comes into this movie. And I thought to myself, if I were to write it down, I would have said something like, the movie will always be remembered for this. Like that's its legacy, is killing off Dewey. And, is that a good or a bad thing, right? And that's just the way it's kind of gone. Has Courtney aged well? Has she? Probably. I don't know. I don't know if it's a question or you're saying it. Such boring set pieces in this film. Yeah, obviously, that's what they tried to address going into 6. You look at 5, and the opening is definitely. I will say, if we want to focus just on that. If you guys have any like specifics you want me to talk about, leave them in the comments. You know me. I'm gonna try to get through all of these comments, but it's probably gonna be pretty difficult. Like when I think of Wes's whole thing, I'm not a big fan. I get scared easily, but that scene is all about, tension, like giving and receiving tension. And, it works the first time, but it's just not a scene that I think it's a very basic scene, very basic. They build up to something. He opens the door, he closes it. No, nobody's there over. And, I think 4 times, and then finally Ghostface is there. And it's just, the death is interesting, being stabbed through the throat, but it's, I mean, and I did think, when it comes to him or when it comes to Vince always just makes me mad, right? Like Kyle, right, is the actor's, like, he's a good actor, and I know a lot of people, like him on social media. I mean, what in the God's name were they thinking with that character? And remember when the movie came out and when we made videos, and a lot of us in the Scream community had talked about the alternate script or like different ideas. And Wes, I think, was supposed to be shot, right? They were supposed to almost wrestle, I think, for Judy's gun in a safe, I think. And then Vince was supposed to get like a flat tire. He was supposed to go under the car, and there'd be some tension there, and then he would be killed when he kind of comes out. When Vince gets it, right? I can't help but think like I need to see that. And they never filmed another version. It was, a script kind of thing. I really wish they had filmed a different version because it's way too quick. Like his character, there's no red herring with it because you introduce him as a sketchy guy and then you immediately you kill him, and it's just one stab to the throat. Like very effective, but it's just one quick stab and then the guy's gone. And the only connection is because he's, Leslie's son. It's like, oh man. There are weak parts. Like, I'm not going to say the movie's perfect, but, and those things stand out. I think the tension with Wes is not very powerful, at least on rewatch. The Dewey thing is always going to divide people, right? Like, you just have to say that. I love that. I think I've probably said that before. I mean, I love the Dewey scene. Like the entire hospital thing, you could argue, why are they doing the hospital trope again with just all of the situations that needed to happen the way that they did. That's kind of annoying. But like stalling for time and Ghostface pushing over Tara and that conversation, that phone call, turning on the modulate, that like 10 out of 10. Really good stuff. And just Rogers, back and forth with Sam, super good. And then Dewey's fight, really good. I've been long saying, I want to see kind of fist fights. I want to see it. And it's kind of raw, right? Like it's a hand-to-hand kind of situation. Dewey wins. He just gets caught off guard, with the phone call. Like it had a lot of great elements. And I know the Call of Duty thing was a thing people had complained about, and I get it. Remember, I never had known that. So when Ghostface does the double stab and then has like that end pose, the end pose is a little weird. Definitely like they hung on to that shot too long, but I didn't know that that was a finisher in Call of Duty. And that actually came out before I think Scream 5 did. I didn't see it and I didn't know that. So I was fine with it, but some people weren't, and I totally understand that. But yeah, I don't know what I was getting at. I'm literally still on the set pieces one. I mean, I think there are a couple really good scenes, but then there's a couple, weaker elements. I gotta like make some sort of script if I make a review video because I'm not gonna be able to stay on track here. Agree, the opening of 5 was so good. G5 dudes that oh no, I'm sorry. I tried. I try to stay away from like the Lethal Collective, not in like friendships. I like them all. They're great people. But I didn't think they were streaming, or I don't think they were streaming. So I tried to avoid doing it up against them. So I'm sorry about that. You can always come back, rewatch all that jazz. Happy Friday. Same to you. I will be doing something for Scream. Yeah, I said that in the beginning, Epic. The hope is we're actually going to do one of these for Hogwarts Legacy on the 1 year, and then Scream 6 on the 1 year. And I'd like to keep doing it. Scream 4, I'd like to do one. Scream 1, 2, 3. That's kind of my plan, going forward into 2024. Scream 5 is my favorite, but Scream 6 is my favorite, sorry. But 5 really got me excited about Scream again, saw 4 times in the theater. Yeah, so, I mean, like, leading into 5, and, and I try not to get, like, gushy, but it's important, like, what we've done on YouTube, and not just me, like whether it's me and like you guys as the community or all these Scream content creators, like there's a lot of really good people out there. And I know I do go after the Scream community, time, every so often. Like there are like segments of like the Twitter community that I think are just like terrible, but honestly, the Scream community is incredible. And I didn't even know that they existed, that you guys existed before like 2019, 2020 is when I started making stuff, content. So it means a lot to me, not just as a entertainment product, but like we got to do all this. The lead up to Scream 5 was incredible. I think the lead up to 6 was better because I, like, myself selfishly, I kind of like figured stuff out, right? Like, well, how do we do live streams? How does that work? How do theory videos work? How does breaking down trailers? Like, I got better at it. Going into Scream 5, like watching the trailer, I was like, oh my God, what do I do? Like, what kinds of videos do I make? All that stuff. So from like a content creation point of view, and just from meeting all of you guys, and some of you guys have been with me for freaking years at this point. And then the creators, Killjoy Jake and Fate and Nightwatch and of course Steven, Craving Something Scary, and many more, actually a lot more. Really cool, like really awesome. And I guess they've always kind of been there. Right? Critical Overlord, Beyond the Mask, keep going, Ryan Showers. I mean, there's a lot of people. So yeah, I mean, Scream 5 brought people together that I didn't even know existed. And that's from like the more, I guess, emotional or humanity kind of point of view, but just the excitement, right? Like I got into Scream after 4. So I saw Scream 1 when they did the 25-year anniversary, which I think was that COVID year, right? 2020 maybe, or maybe 22. I don't remember. Well, it was 96, so 2021. So I went to see that. And I mean, I had already watched Scream 1, but that was the very first time I had watched a Scream movie in theaters. I was old enough, I guess, in 2011 for Scream 4, but I wasn't into the franchise. So I watched them all afterwards. And so yeah, having Scream 5 be the first new, and I've told this story before, like I'm not joking. I was literally shaking, like whether it was anxiety or excitement. I literally remember sitting in the theater, and as the previews are going, and then when the first shot of Tara's house and then the phone rings, I mean, my leg, I tap a lot generally, but I was like legitimately shaking of excitement. Like it was so cool that we were doing this, that we were actually seeing a screen, no matter what happened to either of these two movies. And that's what I say a lot about for Scream 7. Obviously a lot of bad stuff has happened, but like I still kind of want it because like it's just such a special moment for everybody. Like that's what special franchises are, that's what this is to us. What's the line, right? Like I don't remember the line, like Richie's lines that fans, it means a lot to people, it means a lot to fans. I think nostalgia is a legitimate factor for ratings for me. 3 would be under 5 if not for the fact that I watched 3 when I was younger and my mind and opinions were still shaping. Yep. Fair, yeah. And it's tough. It's tough because, like I said, every time I watch 5, and I don't know what it is for me. I really don't. Like when I watch it, I think pretty highly of it. When time goes on, like maybe if you ask me 2 months from now, I'll say, yeah, and maybe that's the thing where it's like maybe Scream 5 doesn't stand out enough at times, whereas Scream 3 has some. I've talked about this. Scream 3 has the worst moments of the entire series. I think there's a lot of forgettable characters in 3. There's a lot of maybe even like middling acting, which really, there's a lot of really good acting in the Scream franchise, but 3 just has some things that you normally don't see from the other movies, okay? But at the same time, it's also got some of the best moments, period. The ending, Sydney, the final act, right, of just everything that happens there. It's incredible. Like it's so good. The dialogue and the fight and everything that happens there that, yeah, I can't help but really love it. So I don't know. 5 doesn't have the worst things of all time, but it doesn't have the best things. It's kind of like a middling thing. I was gonna shout. I want to kind of like rapid fire because I know there's just so many comments. I'm gonna try to get to as many comments. I noticed Chad. I was trying to focus specifically on Chad. So while Chad wasn't in the movie all that much, Mason really, like, it stands out. And I mean, hindsight now, 2020, looking back, like I can understand why if they did test screenings or whatever and they decided to keep him, like whatever the situation was with a Dewey like thing, because Chad is really good in this movie. And he's barely in it, and that's a huge issue, I think. But when he is in it, he has a lot of like charisma is probably the right, like there's just a lot of energy to the guy and to that character. I totally get it. I don't know if I ever would have put him with Tara. Like that took some, like I don't know, that took a decision. You know what I mean? Like people had to have had a meeting and say like, okay, well, what do we do next for some of these characters? Well, relationship wise, what do we do? Well, let's put Jenna and Mason together. And it's like, do they even have a scene together? I think they're in the hospital together, and that's it. Like they're never together. There's no chemistry because they don't talk to each other or anything. It's just they're two different people. So like putting them together for 6 was kind of a wild idea, and it absolutely worked. But I noticed Chad. I think that really, really, he stood out. Mindy was pretty good. Mindy has always been, in my mind, like a above average character that's not like revolutionary, but she's not like bad. I think her time should have been the subway, in 6, but she was a good character. Sam, so I would say this, okay? I don't want to take back the thing because I think Melissa as an actress has really gone through like this transformation. I saw that Abigail trailer, by the that trailer is awesome. I think she's going to crush it in that role. But she, at times, she's very good in 5. I think to the scene where Ghostface attacks her in the break room in the hospital and she runs to get help and she says like, he tried to kill me. I think that was really bad. Like there's some very bad acting from her in that movie. But then there's also like really good. And I think when she is a little bit more, not like cold, but when she has to like reel it in, Melissa in 5 was really good in a more like almost monotone, like, just reacting to things, or when she was like nuts, like at the end. I think she was really like the final act. She's extremely, extremely good when she's more psycho. The thing, I think Melissa literally just became a better actor from 5 to 6, and she rounded it all out because I think there's a couple weak points to her acting like resume, like to what she was talented in. And then she filled that in completely because there is some good stuff. And then she filled it in going into 6. So I noticed that, like, you can't help but notice that. I think I was trying to like analyze certain elements to it. Chad stood out. Tara, again, you always kind of realize that she's just not in the movie all that much. And it's like, well, she stands out when she's in it, but she's just really not in it. She's crippled for the entire thing. Again, like the wheelchair, the hospital, Ghostface attack is very good, and she has to sell it. Like, she is very scared. She's bleeding. I always notice, like, when she's rolling the wheelchair, her hand that's, have the knife through it starts to like bleed through the bandage. Like, that's a small detail, but like that's cool. And Jenna sells it. When Sam, I will say this, actually, I like the scene more when Sam tells her about Billy and just the lineage. I've always thought Jenna outacts her in that scene, but I would give more props to Melissa. That I think she does pretty okay. Like, the delivery of it, I think, is pretty strong. So those are those moments. So we'll read more comments, see if anything jogs my memory, and then the ending, of course, like the final act, is something I want to talk about. Richie and Amber, we got to talk about a little bit more. We're only a third of the way through the franchise, or the live stream. The Scream franchise is the most consistent in terms of quality. Yeah, I mean, you think of so many franchises that have been ruined. And I mean, again, people think 5 and 6. Some people think 5 and 6 are garbage, and that's fine. You can think that. I don't care. I really don't, truly. But from myself, my own opinion, I think this is a very consistent franchise compared to the likes of Star Wars. And I mean, Harry Potter was, I guess, always consistent. Like Pirates of the Caribbean is my favorite franchise. That one had, 2 not great ones, but then 3 legendary ones. So, it's a tough call there. I like 6 more too. There are certain things that 5 do better. Like, it has better villains. Yep. We'll talk Richie and Amber. We'll cover Richie and Amber once I'm done with this stretch of comments. I'm glad you can appreciate all Scream movies instead of liking mainly a certain one in particular and making it your entire personality. Are you singling people out online? Yeah, no, I try. I mean, I try to, I jump around a lot, right? Like, I cover so many games and all this stuff on the channel. I'm kind of used to jumping around and also understanding that not everybody's the same and not everybody is going to just like the one thing. Like, there's room to talk about the others, right? And I think that's always hopefully made me be a little different than other content creators and just other people online. But, for this one, Scream 5 specifically. But yeah, I don't know. I'm not part of, like, 1 is the best one, and I don't think you can ever really beat 1, but there's certainly amazing. Like I said, 3's ending is some of the best moments in the movie or in the franchise. 2 is really, really good. 2, I do kind of like not forget about, but 2 is one that like wanders for me, like 5 is. 6 is so new. There's like a new factor to it still, but I freaking love 6. I'll keep apologizing. I'm sorry. I love 6. I think 6 is a great film. 4 has always been kind of like I don't know what the phrase. I've always loved 6, or I've always loved 4. 4 has always been one that I've really appreciated. I don't even care about the lighting. I've actually always been like, it makes it stand out. Like, it makes it different. I don't know if I think it's the greatest thing ever, but I liked Richie's motive. It was modern and felt realistic. Yes, we'll talk about that. We'll talk about the motive, Richie, Amber. Okay, those are the next 3 things we're gonna go over. 6 is my favorite, followed very closely by 4. 5 is my third favorite. I prefer 6, 4, 5 so much more than 1 through 3. I mean, it's an age thing, Like, 1 through 3 are very, very different. 1, I think, is just always going to be so special, right? You can feel Dewey's abs. I don't know I actually don't know if I'd agree. Well, man, that's actually tough. That's tough because I would say I don't agree initially, but then watching 5, here's what I would say. Watching 5, there's immediately this sense, like, going in when the movie starts and everything happens. And then, they say, Sam says, we're going to go to the expert. We have to find an expert. And as soon as it, has the first shot of Dewey, which is actually, it's a little bit into the film, you just feel a different emotion than you feel in 6. Like, 6 has Gale, and it has Gale in a certain situation, as 6 goes on. But there's something very special about the modern movies where, it's a legacy cast, right? Like, they're in their 40s, they're in their 50s, right? There's something special and there's something like unique about that. So when it shows Dewey and then he calls Sydney and, she's running and it plays her music, it plays her, like, it's so good. And you just don't have that in 6. Like it's not there. And so I don't know. Honestly, when I watch 6, I have to say I don't think I missed them. Like, and they talked about that going through 6, right? Like, leading into 6 releasing. One of the things that maybe like Jenna or Melissa or somebody had said was the movie moves so fast that you don't notice basically who's not there. And I actually agree with that. I think that's a true fact. When I'm watching 6, it's not a big deal. But then when I watch 5, it gives me this emotion that you don't really get when you watch 6. But you only feel it when you're watching them. When I'm talking about them later, it doesn't really matter. Does that make sense? It's a weird feeling. So I mean, would 6 have been better with Sydney and Dewey? Maybe, but I also just don't know how you know what I mean? I don't know how they fit. But the music was mentioned earlier in the comments as well, and the Dewey's theme, right? Like the sheriff or police theme. I think it's the sheriff theme, right? Super good. When Sydney goes into the house, Stu's house, and it plays her like the song. I don't even know what the song names are, but just that like very like I don't even know how you describe it. That music when she opens the door and and she's got her back against the door and she's seeing it and it plays kind of like her theme. Love it. Love it I mean, that was like one of the best moments in Scream 5, in my opinion. Freaking love it. Oh, nice, Anthony. Very good. I met Nev. I took a picture with Nev back in 2015, right after Wes had died. That Toronto Fan Expo that she did and Roger did, and they had and it's actually pretty popular on YouTube. I was there, not at like when they did the Q&A thing, but I met her and had a picture with her that I have in my room. And then this past year, this last July of 2023, I met her and I met Randy, Jamie Kennedy. So I met those two. Eventually, I want to do Skeet and Matthew as well. But I got those two. I got them to sign something. Scream 1, I think I had them both sign the same one. So yeah, I mean, Nev seems like a really nice person. Very like down to earth, kind of quiet, but she actually did most of the talking. Yeah, she's cool. I feel Wes should have made it to Scream 6. I like Wes. I like Wes as a character a lot. He was there to be killed. That was why he did it. What's up, Anthony? Scream 5. Wait, yes. I mean, that's a great point. Yeah. Yep. She should have gotten more to do with her surviving 4, one of the main negatives. Yeah, Judy's a character. I will be honest, like because I haven't watched. I watched 6 a few months ago. I just watched 5. I think I watched 4 last Halloween. Not the one we just had, but the one even before that. And 1, 2, and 3. I think 3 I watched maybe a year ago, and then 2 and 1. I actually don't remember when maybe like a year and a half, 2 years ago that I watched those 2. So Judy, I kind of actually almost forgot. And so when she shows up, it's like, oh yeah, I liked her in 4 quite a bit. And yeah, she's great. She's great. And I do like the idea of her death. Like I don't love killing her out in broad daylight. That part always annoys me where it's like, are you serious? Are you kidding me? But the idea to lure her in and to rush her, she has to be rushed, right? Where she's off her game. I like that a lot, and you have to get the first stab so you weaken her so you can do the rest of it. I like her death scene and I like the concept of, again, like getting her to come home because just that entire phone call is really good where, he says, I'll confess the 2 people I killed and you've only killed 1 person. And, obviously he's going to go after Wes. So I really like that. I thought that was very clever. Why did she have to go? I mean, like Wes asks her that too. Like, why can't you Postmates it? Or Postmate, whatever it is. Why can't you do that? And she says, what does she say? Like, it always gets soggy or something. It's like, oh my God, because you got to get her out of the house, right? So you have to come up with a stupid excuse. So, I mean, I hope the sushi not being soggy was worth it for both those dead people that were supposed to eat it. I hope it was worth it. Actually, no, she didn't even go get the food. She turned her, dang it. They wouldn't even have been able to eat it, even if they lived. She would have had to go on back outside and back into the car to get the sushi. Dang it. Vince was the biggest letdown in 5. Yeah, I remember leading into 5. remember that? Like, do you remember that era, right, where we were like, well, do we think it's Vince? Like, do we even pay him any attention? Because we called it. We really thought like, well, it seems like he's only in it for a few scenes. They show the scene where he looks up and Ghostface is behind him. So it's like, I think he dies. I think he's in it for just a little while. And then that's exactly, he didn't get a character poster. And I don't know if that was like double, like trying to fake us out, but like, I don't know what that was, but yeah, I don't know what they were doing there. I remember everyone liking 5. The switch up is crazy. See, okay, what happened was what I honestly, my recollection, everybody loved 5. Everybody loved it. After the movie came out, there was a switch and people didn't like it. But it wasn't everybody. Going into 6, everybody loves 6. Everybody. The movie was out for like 2 to 3 weeks, and I legitimately saw people on social media admit that they were faking it. They said, well, now that it's been out for a few weeks, now we can talk about the negatives because it's made its money, right? Like, we've helped it. These people are such double, like, I don't even know what to call them, but I legitimately saw that stuff. And I think that's disgusting. Like, that's just so stupid. Just be honest. If you don't like it, fine. You can say that. I wouldn't even care. But there was just a lot of people that were trying to just to help, I guess, helping on social media, which like maybe that's for an honorable cause, but then they turned on the movie like a month later. But anyway, as time has now gone on, people despise 6. Like, if you like 6 like me, and I love 6, I love 6. I'm the minority, but I was the majority back like day one, and I haven't changed my mind, like, unlike others. I've stuck to it. And but now 5 has had this redemption story because 5 was loved, then it was hated on, and now it's better than 6, and now it's actually one of the better movies of the franchise all of a sudden. It's like, I don't understand. Again, things can change. I like 5 more now because when I saw 5, I thought it was extremely good. Then time took its toll, and I thought it was still a good movie, but it was the weakest of the Scream movies. Since then, which was maybe say a few months into 2022, 2 years ago, since then, every time I've watched it, it has gotten better. Where I think, okay, I'm gonna, again, like, I isolate different parts to it. I like this a little bit more. I like that a little bit more. Opinions can change. I think, maybe even an okay amount. But the switch up has been unreal, unreal. All right, I want to talk about. I know there's so many. I'm never gonna get to all these comments. I'm sorry. I want to talk about the ending, the final act, and then we'll keep reading the comments. Final act. Number one, I love, Amber saying, welcome to the final. That's great. That's a great scene. I also think Amber, I remember saying, and I remember a lot of us saying when the movie had come out, well, number one, Amber is just not in it enough. And I think it's just so blatantly obvious that it's her. I think it's actually very blatantly obvious it's both of them, even if you don't see the trailer. I think you would think it's Richie and Amber. Then, by the time you're in the final act, the only other person that even it could be is Liv. Because Chad and Mindy, it's clearly not it. They get attacked. I mean, Chad gets attacked first, right? It can't be Sam. And I don't love the attempt because I'm still thinking, right? A couple other things that stand out. When she does the monologue, Mindy, and she talks about, what this is. I actually think that's a good speech, by the way. When she talks about the speech, and then it ends up with her saying, like, well, who would be the number one suspect? It'd be you, Sam. Even though they just had accused Dewey, which that was stupid. Why in God's name would it actually be Dewey? Realistically, why? They've had a problem with this. This is a writing problem that they had in 5 and they had in 6. Why do they need to sell us on people that there's no way it could be? And I'm one of the only ones I think pointed out with like the Kirby situation. It was never going to be Kirby. It wasn't Kirby. They make you think it's Kirby or they want you to think it's, and then it still is not. And that's a carryover or a holdover or whatever from 5. Because 5, at times, they make the cast believe it's Sam, which is understandable, but we see Sam because Sam is the main character of the story, which Mindy is telling, but Mindy's supposed to be us. So we see that it's not Sam because we see Sam. So accusing Sam is pointless It's pointless. The only way you could accuse Sam is if we, as the camera, followed somebody else for a bit and Sam wasn't there. But we are always focused on Sam. So it can't be Sam. Also, why in God's name would it ever be Dewey? Again, I get it to an extent of like the cast. They don't know him. He's gone through a lot. But again, where we are as an audience, it cannot be Dewey. So don't even bother. Do something else interesting. It can't be Dewey. So don't do that. That was dumb. I don't know where I was leading to that. Uh, uh, you had that situation. Maybe like who it could be. Liv, they keep it. Yeah, like Liv, it makes sense that it could be her. I never thought it was. I wanted to believe it could be, and I think they did an okay enough job of like making you think it was Liv. And then Amber, like you just know it's Amber, but watching it multiple times, you do notice the things like their dialogue in the hospital very much gives it away. When Dewey shoots Amber and Richie's expression, like his face to that, it's Richie. When Richie goes down to the basement to get more beer and then Mindy gets attacked, it's Richie. Like there's a couple of moments where there's just absolutely no way it can't be them. And Tara. Then they all of a sudden at the end say, hey, it might be Tara now. And it's like, that's an interesting concept. And I mean, we had speculated, like, what if you did Tara for Scream 6? Like, would that even work? Would that make sense? And obviously, clearly now it wouldn't, right? But there's something cool about that. But again, it's like, it's this little girl, this small, she weighs like 70 pounds soaking wet. She's been crippled. She almost died legitimately twice. And you're telling me it's her? Why would she do that? Why would she's a nut. And I mean, they're all kind of crazy, but she would be the craziest of them all to almost freaking die, get a knife stabbed through her hand. So you can't do that. You can't have it be Tara when we witnessed her opening attack in the beginning of the movie. Her opening, her attack was the opening of the movie, which is a big deal for Scream. So you can't make it her. So that has been a problem for them since Scream 5. It was only ever going to be Amber and Richie and maybe Liv. And then Vince had a chance, but you killed him too fast, right? So you kind of eliminated that. But now in terms of acting, Richie, great character. Amber, I actually like Amber a lot more. Like the more I watch it, the more I think she did a really, really good job just acting it. Obviously, Amber has always been legendary when she's crazy, right? Like at the end, takes it off. Then she's great. And I remember like saying that she was way too like monotone and just not enough energy to her. And I mean, that's still true, but like Jill's the same way. Like Jill didn't really have any energy to her either. And then she flips the switch. So maybe it's just a thing that's an acting. I'm gonna die of choking. That's like a acting model of like what you're supposed to do is like be a little too reserved, be a little too emotionless, and then when you flip the switch, now you're like a psycho. But when they're insane, like they're incredible, and I find myself liking the motive more and more. Like I don't like it when people call fans toxic. I do think there's literally people in Hollywood that generally don't like their own fans, and I think they're the scum, not us. And so with that being like, it's always a sensitive topic, like even Star Wars, because like you could argue because of the Rian Johnson stuff, right? Like, did they take it from that? Because I don't think, because I'm one of them, I hate the Disney trilogy, but I'm not, I don't think I'm toxic. I really don't. But that's just me. So I was never all that sure if that motive, was going to land. But I'll tell you, like watching it back now, it's like, yeah, I actually kind of like it. I do like the motive where it's, if you think about it, like I think about it, it's fans that are sick and tired of bad movies, which in a way that's a jab at Hollywood because like there is some truth, there has to be some truth in it in order to make it into Scream 5, if that makes sense. There's fans that hate what they've done to a franchise. These fans took it too far. These fans, the dread it, Reddit and all that stuff, right? Like you can have that part. But these fans said, well, what we're going to do is we're going to commit real acts of murder and we're going to write basically a new movie for them because they can't write it themselves because they don't have the talent to. And I mean, like, that's actually true to a lot of, like, you know what I mean? The excessive part is them being psychos in the movie Scream and taking it a bit too far, killing people. That's the part that like jumps the realism. But the idea is actually like, I don't know if it's actually, it might be making fun of actual toxic fans, but there's also a shred of truth in there too, where it's like, yeah, people do hate, and it does means franchises and movies do mean something to people. And I don't know if it's done with like disrespect, because the Scream fandom, the love for Scream is the only thing that's kept it, is the reason why you got a Scream 5 in the first place. Otherwise, those people wouldn't have had those jobs if fans weren't super invested. So I don't think it's a dig at invested fans, because that's what the Scream fandom has always been and should be, because that's what makes us special. It's just the toxicity part that they added on. So I actually don't mind it. I will be honest, like looking at it now, didn't mind it. Did not mind that motive. Okay. I've been talking very fast. All right, let's read as many of these comments as we can, and we'll see if I can think of anything else. Love your Scream coverage. Can you talk about what your Scream 7 pitch would be? Oh man. Okay, well, something like that I don't want to cover now, because I just want to do Scream 5 for this live stream. But that might be an interesting. Maybe we'll do that. March I want to do a Scream 6 live stream. Maybe we can do this in like April or February, do an entire one on Scream 7. Maybe next month. We'll do a Scream 7 live stream next month. There's my promise. Scream 5 screenplay is actually really good. Glad you brought. Yeah, there's a lot of great like moments of music and timing in 5 that I think they did a really good job. Alternate versions are so much better than the ones yeah. Kind of wish they didn't kill off Judy and Wes. Whenever she comes to Texas Frightmare Convention, I'm going to ask what she thought with her and her son will die. Yeah, I mean, Wes was there to do the For Wes thing, which I was never really a big fan of. Judy was, you got to kill people, and you left the core 4 alone, and then you have Richie and Amber, and you have the legacy cast. Like you do have to kill some people. So Judy I think was always on the chopping block, but Liv and Vince had so much potential. Yeah, Liv I think lived up to the potential. Like could she have continued on? Yeah, but I think what they did to her in 5 like made a lot of sense. Like I think it worked. In a way, Scream 5 makes Richie in a way, Scream 6 makes Richie in 5 more significant as a killer. Yeah, because there's this back and forth, of like who was really pulling the strings, right? Amber or Richie. Oh, I always like to throw in 2 things. Number 1, 6 ruins gets the age wrong of Sam. Sam should be 24 or 25 in Scream 6, and she's actually I think 26. So that it ages her wrong. And there's one other thing. There's one. Epic just said, "Oh, Richie." Oh no, there's one other like thing. Oh, another thing that always stands out to me is like Richie had to hooked up with a girl under 18, which, and you know what? Like, and people make a big deal out of it, because you should make a big deal out of it. And as a discussion, we won't get too deep, but when it comes to that, I mean, like, it makes sense. Like, these people are kind of nuts, right? So, like, I guess when did they hook up? They hook up when she was like 15, 16 years old. And, obviously that's like a no-no, in modern society, or really just society in general. But considering they're insane, I guess it makes sense. It doesn't like ruin their character, because their characters are already psychos, That's what I wanted to say. But they also, I remember that they established. Oh no, or did they do something else? 13 and 8. Oh no, they made they really jumped the gun with Sam. So I always remembered this. They made Sam is 5 years older than Tara, because I think it's is it 13 is when she finds the diary, and Tara was 8. So then if Tara is 18, then Sam is 23, right? So I always kind of remember that. There's a 5-year age difference. Sam left when she was 18, and so Tara would be 13. I think it's 5. I think they're 5 years apart. So actually, Sam is more like 23, 24, going even into Scream 6. I'm pretty sure that's right. I always because Tara plays the whole, or somebody says the entire thing, where they give their ages and they give the gap of years and all that stuff. And I remembered in 6 that they messed it up, because I'm pretty sure they made Sam 26. And that was, I mean, does it really make a difference? For a lore perspective, to me it does. But I do think Rogers' vocal performances was best in 5 and 6. That's another thing that's been altered with history. Because a lot of people don't like, like how he's gotten older and his voice has changed. And there's a lot of people that I've seen that really don't like his voice from 4 on. I think it's just kind of an evolution of his voice. Like he sounds very different in 1 through 3 than he does in 4, and then like he does in 5 and 6, which there's a jump there too. But I think he's always elite. Like there's no movie where he's not. The voice changer in 3 I've always kind of hated, and that just takes away from how much he has to talk. But he's always been awesome. I think he's fantastic in 5. I think he's phenomenal in 6. I think he's awesome in 4. 4 he's very like harsh, like the eyeball kind of like there's just a lot of lines in 4 where he's over the top. I love it. But again, like revisionist history, some people don't like, the voice change now. I don't know. I don't get it. As much as I love them, I feel the legacy characters took up screen time from the newer characters that it could. Yes, and that's a fair point. That's a fair point. There's something special to seeing them, but for every moment you're on Dewey, you're not focusing on Amber. You're not focusing on Liv. You're not focusing on Chad and Mindy. Tara, you probably you can't really give Tara more time because she's like bedridden, and Sam does get plenty of time. Richie gets a lot of time. But yeah, so the time you're on Dewey, Gail, and Sydney is really Liv, Amber, Chad, and Mindy. And you could have extended Wes a little bit more. You could have extended Vince a little bit more. I get it. I would never replace it. I would never like change it. But that is like what you would do, if you did. Nev Campbell, it was great. I actually met her last year. Nice. Yeah, she is super nice. I told her back in July that I was excited to see her in Twisted Metal. I didn't know Twisted Metal would be as good as it was. I actually thought Twisted Metal, the show, would be pretty bad, like pretty garbage. And it was actually extremely good. And she was excellent. She just wasn't in it much. She was in 2 episodes. But so yeah, I wish I could. If she comes back, I'll tell her like, hey, that show freaking rocks. Go on as long as you can and get in more episodes, instead of just 2. There's not a bad Scream film. Agreed. Roger is perfect as Ghostface in this film. Agreed. Should we start viewing 5 and 6 as his own unit? And yeah. That's really where we're at. They're just different eras. 1 through 3 is a thing, 4 is a thing, and 5 and 6 are a thing. That's probably how you should look at it. I think Wes's death was a narrative mistake, much like Randy's, both done for shock, and both characters had more potential. Yes. Yep. I agree with that. I think Randy should have definitely lasted longer, too. You needed to kill somebody important, right? So hence you kill him. But yeah, Wes was there to get the party. And I think you could have probably done that a little different. So put the deleted scenes back in the film. I think there's behind the scenes stuff with Dewey actually drinking at the bar. The bar scene, let me just say this real fast. The bar scene is a mess. It's an absolute mess because when the deleted scene of Vince and Dewey there, if you just watch 5, just go rewatch it and just rewatch that bar scene. The amount of cuts and just awkward editing is insane. It's insane how almost like their conversation about Wes having a crush on Tara, that's good. There's some good stuff. As soon as Vince comes in, just the back and forth camera shots, it's rushed, it's poorly executed, it doesn't make any sense. And then when you know that there was supposed to be more there, it makes sense. And you say, oh, you probably should have just extended it by 2 minutes, yeah, I can't help but notice that when I watch that part of it. I tend to rewatch 5 the most, despite a few huge problems. I think it's a superior film to 6. Yeah, that's fair. That's fair. I mean, 5 is more cozy. 5 is more of a Scream film than 6 is. Like, is that unfair to say? I think that's fair to say. I know the problems with 6. I don't know if there's been anybody that's talked about them more than me. I know there's problems with 6, but 6 is just such a jump into the deep end of trying things that people have been asking for. Ghostface kills a Ghostface, 3 Ghostfaces, just, being in a different place, feeling different. And then you don't have Legacy really to help you besides 2 of them. And I think, so I don't want to make this all about Scream 6, but Scream 6, I think, went for it. And that's not a knock on 5. 5 needed to be this. You needed to get people back into the franchise. So you needed a generally safe film. And I mean safe from the perspective of this fits right in. This is a Scream film. It's shot like a Scream film. You're in Woodsboro. You're bringing back the legacy. You're making notes of it all, right? You can't do a sequel. People won't tolerate it. You can't do a reboot. You have to kind of mend them together. All that jazz. It needed to happen. Not safe in the sense that you killed Dewey. That wasn't a safe decision, right? And I guess credit to them is that wasn't safe. So yeah. Woo! I'm talking a lot. I'm gonna have to stop soon. I don't know how I'm supposed to do a review, but I'm gonna try it. I'll have to take a break. Hi, Alex. I'm such a fan of your channel. And don't forget, I'm always yelling. Like, you might not hear it as yelling when you're hearing me right now. I'm yelling. I have like the audio set a certain way. It's just how I talk. I can't really turn myself down. I'm such a huge fan of your channel. Thanks, buddy. Do you think if Tara had even a brief chase sequence inside or even outside in Scream 5, that her opening scene would have been more impactful? I said this in the beginning. Like, I really like her. I like the opening. I like the idea of messing with the door locks. I like so like how it literally works, right? Is she gets stabbed or she gets sliced. She backs up from the door. The locks go on and off. And she walks herself basically almost into the kitchen. Phone rings, and then bonus question. Did I make it inside before the doors? Amazing. And then he's behind her, right? And he's so much bigger than her, by the way, which is fun. But no, I think it worked. Like it doesn't. I want to say it doesn't have as much movement as Casey, but it does in the beginning. Like, she is moving around and she's picking stuff up and she's moving stuff and she's walking as they talk about, her mom and stuff. Like, there is some movement to it. Obviously, when Ghostface attacks, there's not any running or anything, but she's small, and she has the protection of her house being locked. So why would you run, right? Why would you go outside to run after that? You probably would want to stay inside. The doors are connected to the police. So if you just wait it out, outlast it, then the police will come and save you. I get it, so maybe it's an issue with 5 in general that there's no of these, chase sequences. That's definitely true. But for Tara's scene in particular, I don't really think it needed a chase. I think maybe somebody else's, would have been better with that. But that's a good point. I mean, that's definitely fair. Scream 4 ends up being a very interesting bridge to 5 and 6 via Kirby. Yep. I've never diminished 4's impact on the rest of the series and being so disconnected really from all of them, even with Kirby, has never diminished it for me. Like, I just appreciate it for what it is, being an awesome, there's just so many good moments of 4, Well, I love Amber and Richie. I think it's pretty wild how Amber has more fans when Jack Quaid's performance was better. Mickey Madison oversold it too much, and Jack actually made Richie comedic. Yeah, I really like Jack Quaid. I think he did an awesome job as acting, and I think he's a more well-rounded character. Just in his betrayal of Sam and stuff. I think that worked. I do like her over the topness. You could say she went too hard. I guess the one thing you could probably point at is all the people that always compare Amber and Jill together. Is that a good thing? Is it a good thing that you have to say, well, which one of Jill and Amber do you like more? Why do people say that? Honestly, I think it's because their qualities are pretty similar. They're both, again, quiet and reserved for the movie that they're in. And then when they flip the switch, they're nuts. And remember there was the behind the scenes story? Didn't they have the entire cast read? Was it Jill's monologue? Is that you guys? Let me know in the comments. Was that the behind? I'm pretty sure that was true, right? They had everybody read, or was that in 6? Was that in 6? How did that go? 5 or 6, they had the entire cast read the script from somebody else. Maybe they had the 6 cast read the script of Amber doing 5. I don't remember, but her and Jill are very similar, and you could argue that's a good thing because they're similar. You think 5 and 6 as a unit becomes the core 4 story, or still about the Carpenter sisters? Probably, because there is no core 4 in 5. There's just not. So, but there is the sisters. That's the sisters is a bigger theme in 5 than the core 4. And then the core 4 and 6 is a bigger theme than the sisters, but the sisters is also still present. So I think the sisters win out. Gotta leave. No problem, buddy. See you next time. Justice for, I agree. I don't like, you all know I'm a pretty big baby when it comes to horror movies. So when it comes to this Abigail movie, I don't know if I'll see it in theaters, but I will definitely be watching it. And I'll do some review or something. Gotta help Melissa out. Do we say, yeah, I don't know. I don't know if I again, I don't know how Dewey fits. I don't know. In regards to my comment about Mickey's acting as Amber, I think she did okay, but it was the first time in the franchise where I felt someone fell flat as Ghostface, which was I think oh God, what's his name? Charlie. I almost freaking forgot. I think Charlie can be pretty weak. I liked him at the end, but I think he's a pretty weak character overall. I don't know. I would maybe put him as the lowest. Scream 6 is amazing. Reminds me of 4, which I love. Don't worry about the main cast. Don't have to worry about the main cast. I watched them kick ass the whole movie. I appreciated that specifically about Sam in 6, that she could kind of just go wild. It was more about almost being afraid for Ghostface than it was being, worried about Sam, just because you knew Sam could take care of business, right? Like I felt that for her specifically. Because our franchise has stakes. Yeah. There's a couple really good lines, at that end. Thanks again, buddy. Break Ops. MTV Scream TV series fans, where are y'all at? The announcement for 5 after loving the TV show was a great feeling too. I thought the name was Bear. Yeah. And I remember the show happening, and I didn't watch it. I made those videos back 2.5 years ago. I think October of 2021, I think, is when I watched MTV Scream, and I love it. I think it's a great show. The first 2 seasons, I think there is a great show. But yeah, I can imagine, if you were watching that at the time, you just had 11, you had Scream 4 kind of fall apart in terms of box office and stuff. Then you had the show, and it didn't do very well, right? It eventually doesn't happen. Resurrection or whatever happens, and that show was god awful. Then that stops, and then you're like, okay, well, Scream, Wes is gone. So it's like, okay, Scream gone for good. And then 5 gets announced. So yeah, I think it's probably even more impactful. Watching Scream 4 was so fun for me. Watching Scream 3 in theaters was so scary. Yeah. I've never seen Scream. Scream 3 and 4 are now the only 2. Because I watched the anniversary for 1 and 2. So 3 and 4 are the only ones I haven't seen in theaters. I'd love to see 4 in theater. I think that'd be awesome. I feel Sydney and Dewey would have ruined 6. I don't know if they would have ruined it. I just don't know where they fit. But yeah, I mean, it's a fair. Like I said, I really like 6. I don't know. Obviously, there are definitely things I would change about it. But for something like that one's tough. Do you think Ghostface would make a good Godzilla? I don't know how that would work. That would be wild. I haven't changed 6 in my favorite by 1.5 miles. Yeah, no, 6 has major problems. 6 has big problems. All right, I'm gonna kind of skip around just because I want to make sure we're nailing it. And yes, gaming. So next week we're gonna do a whole live stream on Suicide Squad, Kill the Justice League. Week after will probably just be a gaming live stream, like an Ask Me Anything. Like I said, in February, we're going to do one on Hogwarts, and then we'll probably do a Scream 7 one, and we'll kind of go from there. But those are a couple in my head. Like I said, for Scream 6, we'll do one in March. But yeah, probably the next 3 or so will be gaming live streams. Just not, and I think last week's was a gaming live stream, just not this week. I just want to put Scream 5 here. Between Pirates, oh man, oh God. I like Pirates 5, but I don't love it. Probably Scream 5. I think Pirates 5 has the better overall moment in it, the ending with who that goes, but Scream 5 is really good. So yeah, that's a tough one. That's a tough one. You know how I feel about Pirates. I like the ending of 5. It's just that Richie and Amber weren't threatening at all. Chaotic, yes. Threatening, hell no. Yeah, and there's so many The issue, and we've talked about this before, the issue is you have Gale, Sydney, Sam, and Tara, and they're all split up and they're all weakened. And I appreciate that because if you think about it, if they weren't like that, you have 4 of them against 2 ghost faces. They would win. The survivors would win. But Gale was shot, Sydney was stabbed, Sam was stabbed, Tara was destroyed and couldn't even walk. So like, you know what I mean? So they were weak, they were broken up. But even with that, like, obviously they're gonna win. I want to live in a. Oh yeah, that would have been awesome. And they had good chemistry, kind of going back and forth. They really did. I never understood why certain people like 5 and 6 at first, and yeah, no, I don't know how. I don't know why. I did like how in 5 everything felt up in the air. Definitely darker vibes and energy. I hate how they connected Sid and Gale at the hip, like one side piece, and then shot Gale in the stomach. Yeah, that was a little odd. Do you think if Liv and Amber were the ghost faces, that if Liv was the one to kill Dewey, was much bigger than Amber? She was kind of more she was kind of scary too, just as an maybe. I don't think you would have ever been able to fully, help yourself with the Dewey situation, Well, Vince is not in the movie almost at all. Chad is not in the movie either, but like they're not the same. Like I'm not saying Chad is the character not in the movie the most. Vince is, but Chad is also not in the movie, but to a different degree. You seem very chill and nice guy and non-toxic, but I really like Richie and Amber's moves. Yeah. Yeah. Well, thank you. I try to not be toxic. It's tough though sometimes. No, I like I said, I've liked their motive kind of more and more. All right. Scream 5 was good. Some people are just haters. Maybe some are really mad at Spyglass. Yeah. I mean, opinions have definitely changed on Spyglass now, right? Brick Boy, thanks so much, buddy. I don't know if you're still here 20 minutes later. I'm sorry it took so long. I appreciate it a ton, man. All right. You have to connect Sam and Hayden too. Oh yeah, and that kind of ruined. That's true. That is probably why they aged her up, isn't it? Yeah, I kind of forgot about that. I might Epic. Actually, I've had a couple ideas for Spider-Man. I've had a couple ideas for Spider-Man videos. Can any I really, that made me cough. I like that scene. Effing hand sanitizer. It doesn't, yeah, it is so random. It is so random. I think it's just kind of her being wild. She's just blurting stuff out. She tries to get herself out of it twice, right? With like apologizing. In that way, I almost see a little Stu in her. The hand sanitizer comment specifically almost sounds like a Stu thing where why does Stu say half the things that he says? And the answer is that's him. That's his character, right? He's just kind of like that. So I think, for Amber, it's pretty similar. I like that. Honestly, I like that a lot. I like that scene a lot. And lighting her on fire, what does Sydney say? Enjoy the torch. Enjoy that torch. That's a good line. I like that too. Do people actually like the Billy Loomis visions? I found it hard to enjoy. I also didn't like the dream sequence in about Maureen in 3, but it wasn't as bad as Billy in 5. Okay. I mean, like watching it last week, I actually did. I did like it. I don't know. The odd thing is, right? What we know is they filmed, Skeet later, so I don't think he was ever with Melissa doing those scenes. But it actually felt pretty. Like that acting from both of them going back and forth with each other, extremely good. You want to give props for Melissa for, acting really good because they weren't there. I'm pretty sure they kind of stitched him in afterwards. So I think that was kind of excellent. The back and forth and just like the guidance he had. I got to be honest, in a way, I kind of liked him more in 5 than I liked him in 6 with just his scenes of being there. I kind of liked it more in 5. I actually did. I think time has been a strength to that element of 5. I actually think that, he doesn't look anything like he does in Scream 1. And they were trying to make him that. And he looks good. Like, he looks good for his age still, even now. And he looked good, I guess, even back in Scream 5. But he's not 25 anymore. Like he was when he filmed Scream 1. So yeah, I don't know, but I honestly do kind of like it. Oh, good. I appreciate it, buddy. Thanks for, all the super thanks on the videos. I hope you know that I appreciate, all the stuff that you do to help the channel. Super awesome. I really wanted the killer in Scream 7 to be Tara's dad. Yeah. I just want to kind of know who Tara's dad is, right? Just get an actor there. If the Scream 7 situation gets fixed, everyone dies besides Sydney and Sam. Ooh, oh man, maybe. I like Tara. I really do like Tara a lot. All right, I'm gonna get off in just a few seconds. Yeah, I like Tara a lot, so I don't know. I love how quick Vince's kill was. It showed one knife. Yeah. From the perspective of like, it's that easy to take somebody out, just one, jab. I did like that. I think it's more of a representation of his character, that he just went so quick. And like, was he supposed to be bait for something or to make you think that it was, you know what I mean? I think it was more like missed opportunity with him versus the actual like message. Like, if that's the message, that it's so quick to do it, that's strong and that's good. But I think that Tara's dad was one of the guys in Scream 1 that was chasing people in the halls with the Ghostface mask. His last name was Carpenter. That's what the people. Oh yeah, I did see that theory. I do remember. I do remember that. All right, guys. This was fun. This was a lot of fun. I wanted to do something, just on Scream 5. We accomplished it for the most part. So Sunday, I will try to make like a actual, I'll try to write like bullet points for myself. We'll try to do like a review for Scream 5, put up as a video, allow some people just don't like live streams, right? So we'll put that out in video form on Sunday. We'll kind of go through things. And then, like I said, maybe I think once a month is really what I want to shoot for. So in February, we can just talk maybe about Scream 7 and what's going on with like rumors and stuff. March, I definitely want to do a Scream 6 live stream. And then was Scream 4 April of that year of 2011? So maybe we, April or May or whatever, we can do a Scream 4 live stream and just talk about Scream 4. All right. I think that's what we'll do. Are you truly okay with the ending of 6? No. I'm on this. I actually talked about this in the last Scream live. I know I'm not saying to go back and watch, but the last live stream I did of Scream, I talked about I'm on the camp that they did not finish their story. I know like Beyond the Mask did a video too, and people were kind of at him for whether it was a true ending. I'm on the side that I do not think the ending for 6 is a true ending for the characters. I think it was clearly to do more. I'm not happy with the ending of 6 being the final ending. And I did a whole thing on that in the last one. Scream 4 came out in April. Extended fan. Oh, I've never heard of that. I've never heard of that. Okay, April. All right, that's good. So that's what we'll do. Next month, Scream 7. Month after, in March, we'll do a Scream 6 one, and then we'll do Scream 4. We're just going to kind of jump all over. I like that idea. I think that'll be good, all right? Thank you for being here. I really do appreciate it. Like I said, every Friday I stream, but they're, gaming and different kinds of stuff. So we'll just go from there. All right. Really appreciate you all being here. Have an awesome weekend, and I'll see you all on the next one.